Hi, Eden. Can you hear me?
Me?
Hi, Eden.
Oh, you have to wait. You know what? I have to turn my camera
On the
around.
camera. I guess this is what we should have done.
Oh, there I am.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi,
So,
Eden. How you
sorry
doing?
about the lighting. I'm good. You know what? What I might do is close my blinds. I'm not sure why the lighting is so dull.
Okay.
Um,
All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to just put it on Facebook that we are now on Instagram.
okay.
That's crazy. Today of all days, just decided to mess up.
Um,
Does it look better?
no, it doesn't, but we just have to work with it.
Yes.
It's a little dark. I don't know what's going on. It was so much when I did it, I've been on Zoom calls all day and it wasn't this dark, so I don't know something about the lighting on Instagram or something. I
Okay.
guess I need to turn the light, but I don't want to go get one. I usually use an external camera for my
Maybe that's what I
desktop.
should do. Maybe I should try and use an external. I don't know what's going on. I went live with my
Does
just like
yours
30 minutes before we started, just
work
to
too?
sure that everything was going to work, and everything was perfect. But I don't know what happened with Facebook.
It was very easy to join here on Instagram. I did exactly the same things as I
Mm-hmm.
did on Facebook, but maybe Facebook was just crashing. Maybe a lot of people are
Possibly.
not. Well, it looks like people are joining us,
All right.
and I'm gonna have to take over taking care of the kids soon. So,
Okay. I'm so sorry. I apologize
no worries, it's not your fault. I don't
for
think
taking your
it's
time.
anyone's fault. It's just what happens. Sometimes tech hiccups happen.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you again for joining me. Let's just jump into it. Honeycomb, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I see Nicole, Wendy Green. Thank you for joining. Today we'll be talking about natural hair products, and our topic today is why natural hair products. And this afternoon I have with me Eden Fadzo Croft, all the way from Arizona. She's my coach and my mentor. Everything I know about all things natural, Eden has been the one helping me and putting me through. She's a beautypreneur. She helps people use herbs to formulate their hair and skin products. And today I am privileged to have her share with us the reason why we should use natural products. And we're just going to jump into it and make it as fast as we can, because we spend a lot of time already today. So, Eden, you want to tell us why should we use natural hair products? Why not synthetic products? Why the need to use natural products?
Well, I think the best way to answer that question is to start by looking at Why are conventional store-bought products, not all of them, but the vast majority of them, why are those bad? So the main thing is going to be, of course, the ingredients. There are so many ingredients in conventional beauty products that are associated with health challenges, poor health outcomes, poor birth outcomes, poor developmental outcomes. And so you kind of want to start looking at those ingredients. And another thing you want to understand is the ingredients that are targeted towards black hair, right? That are specifically made by the bigger companies, as these are black hair products. Those are disproportionately higher in all those toxic ingredients. A recent study, I think a few years ago, came out and it said that they're 80% more toxic than the other products, which are already super toxic. Um, so you want to start understanding, and this is just as important as, like, for example, right now we're doing this interview during the pandemic. We're about close to a year in it. And all of us know the various COVID protocols just for safety. We know, sanitizing and masking and social distancing. We just accept those, right? No person would say, I don't want to learn that. Like, you have to learn it. Like, even if you don't believe in it, you have to learn it to exist in the society, because you can't go to the store if you don't understand these. So you have to look at it the same way and say, okay, now I have to understand what are the things that are in my product. When I buy this shampoo, I have to look at the ingredients, and I have to look for, like 6 to 8 main things that shouldn't be in that list before I say it's acceptable to take home to myself and my family. So the main offenders, I'm going to start with the one that people use the least, but I feel like it's one of the main ones because it's in everything. It's in laundry detergent, you walk into a store, it's in cleaning products, as well as in our cosmetics, and that is synthetic fragrances. Now, the main ingredients in synthetic fragrances that we're looking at are phthalates, and it's illegal in the United States to sell baby bottles that have BPA in them. But phthalates are full of BPA, right? And buy a baby shampoo that has synthetic fragrance in it, which means it's BPA. So you're doing all this stuff to keep your baby's bottles BPA free, and then you go and bathe them and lotion them in BPA. Like, it makes sense, and these are really big companies like the Johnson and Johnsons and so forth that are promoting these. So that synthetic fragrances are dangerous because they disrupt the hormones. We all know the hormones and the endocrine system control almost everything in the body. So things coming up from that, ranging from infertility to diabetes to disruption in growth. They've found fish in the ocean that have, like, gender issues, right? Like, both genders, because when we wash our bodies, all of that runs off and goes into the ocean, right? So you kind of want to be thinking about stuff like that. Parabens are another one. Parabens are highly associated with cancer, as well as hormone disruption, and they're used as preservatives usually. So you want to, anything that ends in paraben, you want to avoid methyl paraben, propyl paraben. You want to avoid those things that are formaldehyde forming ingredients. Those kind of ingredients are, there's some things that they're on their own. When you put them in, they're fine, but over time they slowly release formaldehyde. And we all know formaldehyde is what people use to embalm their bodies. Why would you want that in your body while you're alive? It is obvious. And then there are things that are excessively drying to the skin. And that's the most benign thing, right? Like, okay, so it dried my skin, it didn't kill me, it didn't give me cancer, it didn't, give me an illness. However, once your skin gets that dry, you start to have irritations and other developments, right? Sure. And then you start needing all kinds of balms and steroids and topical aids that have all kinds of side effects that your dermatologist gives you just to alleviate that dryness when you could have prevented it in the first place. Sometimes it can irritate the lining of the eyes. Then you start to have dry eye issues, and then you start doing things to alleviate your dry eyes, and it just compounds the problem. So sulfates are one of the main offenders in that category, and they definitely shouldn't ever be used on baby skin. And then there are things that clog the pores, right? So if the skin is a breathable organ. It's your largest organ, lives outside your body. Your scalp and your skin, they need to breathe. And so you don't want to use petroleum-derived things like mineral oil or Vaseline or, because they're going to clog the pores. You don't want to use synthetic oils like silicones because they're going to clog the pores. And for natural hair, especially some hair types, it's been shown that silicones can build up in the hair. And so once it builds up in the hair, it makes your hair products not work as well because there's always a buildup that's like, the hair products can't really penetrate. They can also cause back acne. Like maybe you say, I don't use silicones on my body, but you use them in your hair. And when you wash your hair, it runs off down your back. Right? And so now you have back acne and you can't understand why you have back acne, even though you're not a person who has acneic skin. So all of these things tend to be connected. You also have to realize, now this is the scariest one. All of these ingredients have been found, and this study was done before I had my daughter who's 10 years old. So it's probably 12, maybe even 15 years old. They found 200 plus chemical compounds in the placenta, from newborn babies, right? And it was a full spectrum of the population, including healthy mothers who eat clean and do all the right stuff. And a lot of these things that we talk about that are in beauty products were also in the placenta, which means kids are being baked in kind of ingredients in a full-on way. And things like autism or whatever, they're multifactorial. It's not just one thing that's causing them. But we are at a point where we cannot deny, even with the greater diagnosing skills that we have and the greater help we have in society to help, kids who have developmental challenges, who are on the spectrum, we're at a higher rate than ever of seeing these sort of developmental challenges being, almost from a fringe thing to being kind of mainstream and prevalent. So you have to be cautious about this. You also got to know that, there is no way. I can just throw it away. Oh, I'll just give it away. I'll just wash it away. The truth is there is no away, because when we wash our bodies, that water goes down the drain and it goes into our waste system. It goes into our rivers, it goes into our ocean. It then becomes the water comes back to us in our drinking faucets. Right? Sure. It comes back to us in our bath water. It comes back to us in terms of our food, because even if we grow food, we know that our plants absorb water from the soil. They don't absorb it. Most of the water they absorb is from the soil. So if this water is now running off back into the agricultural system, we're now eating this in our food, right? So there's no escaping, and it also becomes a point of, it's like the right stewardship of the resources we've been given, by whatever you believe in, whether you believe it's the creator or God or we live in a place where we are responsible for taking care of our home. And if we keep trashing our home, we are not going to live well, as we're seeing with all these diseases and so forth that are coming up, because we're not taking care of the environment. We just think that, forget about it. So there's just no escaping this. It's really something that we have to face, and it's a real thing, right? So that's kind of why you really want to start understanding why just buying anything we find at the dollar store is not a sustainable act.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Growing up in Nigeria, Everything around me was natural, even from the food. There was really no frozen food. There were frozen foods, but everybody had like plants growing at the back of their house. And I remember that even as a young girl, my grandma used to give us, every time she came visiting, she had all kind of herbs for us to drink. There's all kinds of creams. And for me back then as a young girl, I used to think that they were dirty, and I never used to take them. Like every time she brings it, I'll be like, why do I have to take this? And my dad was a nurse, and then when I came to this country, I realized that every 95% of every product that I picked off the shelf would have shea butter. Shea butter was something that stood out for me. And then I was looking at it, and I kept on saying to myself, all of these products have shea butter. This is the shea butter that my grandma used to buy, never even touch, never use them. And then, all of a sudden now, shea butter is everywhere. It's been imported from Ghana, from Nigeria, from everywhere. So sometimes we need eye openers. We need something to really open our eyes to see that. And then I sat down and I began to think that after all of those things are not really bad. All of those herbs that I took for granted, that I could just go to the back of my house and just pick, it's gold here. People spend a lot of money to be able to get them. And that's one thing that I look back to now that, I've started formulating my own products with your help, and you teaching me all about this herb. Sometimes when you say some things to me, I'm like, I know that particular plants. I know it. I've heard about it, and it's so funny. Thank you for sharing that. Somebody, Air is my experience. She has a question, and the question is, what would you say is the most toxic chemical you have seen in any given beauty product?
Cool. That's an interesting question. Because I feel like they're all toxic, right? Because the thing is that I can say, like, you might not be worried about the cancer things if you have diabetes, but the diabetes can kill you, right?
Yeah.
Or, it's like they all affect different things. So I wouldn't say that one thing is the most toxic, but I would say one of the biggest silent killers is the natural is artificial fragrances, because that's the one that people will make a completely natural product, completely natural, and then they'll spoil it with the synthetic fragrance, So now the thing isn't even natural anymore. You might think, oh, well, 99% natural, but that 1% is really, really bad if you're using it consistently every day for years and years.
True.
True. That one thing can be something that causes you to be sterile, right? To have infertility. It could be the one thing that causes you to have, some kind of hormonal disruption, right? It can be the one thing that throws your child's hormonal balance way off, right? So it's in everything, right? It's in laundry detergent, it's in all our cleaning supply. Like, you really have to be careful with that one. So I would say that one is the most silent killer. The other ones are more obvious. Another one that's kind of sneaky in a lot of things are PEG. Like anytime you see PEG castor oil, PEG this, and PEG basically stands for polyethylene glycol, I think, but it's basically ethoxylated ingredients that are derived from petroleum. So what they've done is that they've altered the natural substance so that it can be more soluble in water, or so it can behave a certain way in the formula. But it's a really, really toxic process, and the better idea would be to just formulate that thing completely differently, right? Or to understand how to use products differently. And so you can have a completely natural product that doesn't even have the synthetic fragrance, but then it has that in it. So I think that there is nothing that you can say is worse than another thing. Like, I'm starting to see people move away from parabens, because parabens have been touted so much. They're like, okay, the people know about parabens now. Now we're scared to put them in there. So they'll use something else, So you just got to know about all of them, You just got to make a list of the top 6 to 8 ones and just look out for them all the time. So that might actually be a good Instagram post for you or blog post for you, Ola, to just say, these are the main things you want to avoid, and
Okay.
then list them,
All right.
you
So
know.
when you talk about fragrance, do you mean perfumes?
I mean, synthetic, artificial fragrance. Perfumes is definitely one of them. So it doesn't mean that your product has to be aroma free. There are natural ways to scent your products. You can use essential oils, obviously. There are
Mm-hmm.
even natural fragrance oils that are derived from things like when they're making fruit juices, they're able to extract maybe some of those components from there in a way that's not toxic.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain extracts that they can make, botanical extracts that have the aromatic properties. They might not have the medicinal, but they might retain the aromatic properties, and they're able to use those.
Mm-hmm.
But it's specifically has to say natural fragrances, no artificial fragrances, because if you've used that, you're proud of it because you've chosen that for a reason. So you
Sure.
should tout it,
Sure.
right? So you want to look at things that are scented naturally. And when all else fails, unscented is always a great way to go. Then you don't have to think about it at all,
Mm-hmm.
right?
True. True.
So those are things to be thinking about. Yeah.
Okay. So, when starting this business, the most thing that I've heard from people is why is it expensive? Why? And I find myself having to explain to people that this is not your regular product that you go grab from the store, because people are quick to compare like a 16-ounce shampoo that costs $7 to an 8-ounce herbal treatment shampoo that costs $25. They don't just understand the reason why it is expensive. So what do you say to people who feel that natural products are expensive and they can afford it?
So I love that question. And one of the reasons why I love that question is you have to understand multiple things. One is I've already gone into the litany of things that can happen to us physically, right?
Mm.
And that are actually happening in the environment because of our desire to use these cheaper products,
Mm.
right? Like
Yes.
our health is completely breaking down. The majority of diseases that are out there can be directly linked to lifestyle, right?
Mm.
So you may buy a cheap product right now at the dollar store that costs $3 or that costs $8 or $12. However, that money you save, you will pay for it later. You will pay for it in terms of your health. The
Sure.
unhealthier you are, the more sick days you have to take. Maybe it affects your ability to produce and be a productive person, so you can't really earn more money. Maybe it shortens your life, God
Mm.
forbid, right?
Mm.
You're going to pay for this. There is a cost for this. You're just not paying for it with money. You're paying for it other places. But even the money aspect, those other costs are going to cost you more money than it would be to just, you know, do the right thing. Another thing is, you also have to realize that when you spend your money, you are voting with your dollars,
Mm.
right? So when you spend money with a company that has shown very clearly that it does not care about people who look like us, you
Mm.
are voting and you are endorsing them and you are encouraging them. You're
Sure.
telling them that what they're doing is right. So when I spend money with you, I know that there are three little boys who maybe are going to get extra tuition classes. I
Mm.
know that it's going to pay for your family's health insurance. I
Mm.
know, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know where my money is going, and I feel
Mm.
proud about it. So when my credit card goes through, even though it costs me more, I'm proud of where my money's going because my money's where my mouth is. I'm
Mm.
putting my money where my values are,
Mm.
and I feel like that means something. It means something spiritually, and it feeds me. And honestly, it's allowed me to make more money. So,
Mm.
like, you get rewarded for the things that you do. So, if you're going to be cheap with yourself and cheap with your body's going to respond as if you treated it cheaply, right? So
Mhm.
there's that. Another thing is understanding that a lot of times these products that cost more, they haven't done any shortcuts on ingredients. I can look, one of my favorite things, my family just hates it when I do this, but like if I go to Rite Aid or Walgreens or whatever, I can literally spend an hour in the aisle just examining every single thing and being like, okay, this is in here. Okay, this
Mm.
probably costs 10 cents to make
Mm.
and it's $25, and because they use a lot of synthetic ingredients, they use a lot of fillers. The most expensive thing in most of the things on those shelves are the packaging itself. The
Sure.
packaging probably costs more than the ingredients because
Mm-hmm.
they need to razzle dazzle you to make up for the fact that they're selling you water with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Sure. Sure.
so, so it's just like you have to think about it the same way your purses, your car, and so forth. You understand inherently why certain clothes or why certain vehicles or why certain homes cost more than others because they're made better. Sometimes it's just branding because I've also seen a lot of nonsense that's really expensive, so it can go the other way too. But I have to understand that, a product that is made by hand, sometimes they're not all handmade, but that's made by hand, that has natural ingredients and organic ingredients wherever
Mm.
possible, and that's made with zero fillers, is going to cost more to make.
Mm.
However, it also means that you're going to save money because that product is more effective. If your skin looks good, you're not going to spend a fortune at Sephora every month on makeup because you don't feel like you can't leave the house without 5 layers of makeup.
Mm.
If your hair is not falling out, you're not constantly going to be paying for weaves and this and that. I mean, it's fun to do those as a style, right?
Sure.
But
Sure.
there's some people who haven't seen their own hair for years and years and years, and they feel like they can't because the products that they use are just masking. They're not actually healing and nourishing and growing new hair and all of those things the way
Mm.
a natural herbal product would. So in the long run, they actually spend more money just to cover up the symptoms that they've created with the cheap products that they were trying to save money with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about, what do you want to grow? Do you want to grow other businesses of people who are similar to yourself? Do you want to keep enriching? Do you want to keep rewarding people for doing the wrong thing?
Mm.
And, it's just a long-term game with your body, you know?
Mm.
You have to live
Sure.
until you die. So you got to take care of this thing, you know?
Sure.
And you will
Sure.
pay later, in terms of
Mm.
years off of your life or in terms of compromised health or your family's compromised health because you wanted to save $7.
Sure. That's true. Thank you. Thank you, Evan. One other thing that I wanted to ask you is why do you think it's difficult for us as African Americans to find products that suit our hair? I remember that for a very long time, I would go into the stores and just look and look and look, not until Share Moisture. There wasn't, I don't really know of anything, until Share Moisture came to the rescue. So why is it difficult? Is it that somehow some people just decided to forget about us, or what's going on?
That's actually exactly what it is. Some people just decided to forget about us. I'll give you an example from the book industry. So when Terry McMillan, who's a super best-selling author, who's had multiple movies made about her books, when she was first getting started, the publishing companies told her no, 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 no. And you know the reason they gave her? They gave her the reason that Black people don't read. That's what
Mm.
they told her.
Mm.
Um, so, and I've literally been in where there are lots of, like chemists, just like we have our natural hair forums, the chemists have their forums too. So I
Mm.
go in there and then someone comes in who wants to go to manufacturing with a Black-owned hair product and asks, how can I get help with this? And then a whole bunch of white male chemists will come on and they'll say things like, that is very niche, that doesn't make any money. That's not even worth it. Nobody even pays attention to that. That's why
Mm.
there's no information on that.
Mm.
And they actually believe in their heads that this is true.
Mm.
It's because they've given it no time whatsoever. So now you're seeing a change where a lot of these companies are starting to respond to the change that people like you because Shea Moisture started just like we did. Like they just started, making products from home and selling them locally and, that kind of thing. So all these cottage industry, makers started making things for natural hair, started making things for black hair, and some of them really took off, right? And then the blogging industry around natural hair and the YouTube thing and the influencer thing grew. And then the relaxer sales going down by 30-40% worldwide and continuing to go down. They started to understand that they were losing money by this
Mm-hmm.
sort of laziness. Really is all it was, like a laziness, mixed with prejudice. But, it's just lazy because it doesn't even make fiscal sense, right, for them to ignore that market. So they started to understand that
Mm-hmm.
there's on the table. So now they're in the game, but they're in the game for the wrong reasons. They're in the game not to serve, they're in the game to be greedy, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
greed doesn't motivate you to see things well. So that's why they're making these cheap products with shortcuts and toxins, and sometimes they don't even work well. And then you come to someone like you who's thoughtfully thought it out. Like you're like, okay, I want to make products. My products have to work for 4C hair. They
Mm.
have to be hydrated. They have to balance the scalp. They have to do this and that. Now it's just like your shampoo, is the only shampoo that I'll use on my hair.
Yeah, I
you
know
know,
that.
because it meets a certain criteria.
Mm-hmm.
As a person with a scalp condition, I know that I can go 5 days without washing my hair. If I used Head and Shoulders, it would probably be a day or two max before I had to wash my hair, right?
Mm.
And so now I'm also saving money because I'm saving time instead of having to wash my hair all the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, just when you buy something from someone who respects you, who wants to serve you, of course, people who are making natural products for sale are in here to make money as well, as they should. But that's not the only reason why they're there.
Mm.
That's not even the reason why they're there. They understand the need. They have a joy about it. They have a passion about it. They often
Mm.
have natural hair themselves. Their children have natural hair. Their sisters and fathers, whatever, have natural hair. And
Mm.
they saw a need to serve and alleviate a problem.
Mm.
And in that, they also saw the opportunity to meet a need in the market, you know? So
Well,
that's your capitalism right there. That's healthy capitalism, right?
mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
the exploitive capitalism where I'm just going to make a buck out of these people
Mm-hmm.
by doing as little as they'll pay me for.
Mm.
So that's why there aren't as many products, but that's why we're also starting to see more products. And the big companies are starting to come out with lines, but you find when you try the lines, they're just kind of loosey-goosey.
Mm.
But a few are starting to make products that we can actually use, but for the most part, the products that work really, really well are made by Black-owned companies.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow. That's an eye-opener. So what I've learned today is that um first of all, I just want to say thank you for creating that group. I belong to Facebook where Eden is our mentor, and we all can. There's some people here on this group that can testify of how we can jump on that group and ask you all that we need to ask you, and you're always ready, to provide answers. And you're one of my greatest support. I tell sometimes when I'm packing stuff, and my sister says, is that for your boss? She calls you my boss. She's like, is that your boss? I'm like, yes, that's my boss, because she's the one that keeps patronizing me every month. Like every time this icon comes up on Etsy and it's Eden, I'm like, my sister is like, what's she doing with all of that products? I'm like, why are you such an enemy of progress? Why are you asking me what she's doing with all of that product? So I am happy, to belong to this community, and I know that so many people are upcoming, you know, finding their way, doing their own product, it's like people's eyes are beginning to open now. People now see that there's a need somewhere, and that need has to be met. And so many people are coming up now with all kinds of natural products, all kinds of healthy product for the African American. And like you said, so many people are going natural now, and so many people are looking for stuff that that is going to help them. So somebody just said here, Air is my experience, was just asking that what shampoo is Eden talking about. Is my shampoo. If you follow me on Instagram, you see that I have a scalp treatment shampoo. Not necessarily meant for your hair. You can use it for your hair, but it's a scalp treatment shampoo. So it means that when you buy it, it must be applied on your scalp, and then as you wash, it spreads to your hair.
You're frozen a bit, so hopefully hopefully you can
Can you
hear
hear
me.
me now?
But you also have, yeah, you're back.
Okay.
So you also have a nice silicone brush that I like to use to scrub my scalp and get it in there. It's a nice sort of a moisturizing shampoo that really helps to balance the scalp. So I really that, and you have a refresher that does the same thing, which I really use it every single day. So yeah, and you're kind of going back to the expensive thing. It's like, you know, um, sure, I spend that, however much $100 a month buying my shampoo, buying my soaps, for the family, buying a few other things that I get from you, right? But that have really helped heal my body or heal my skin or kind of make me feel okay when I put my kids in the bath, that I'm not covering them with chemicals, right?
Yeah.
And knowing where that money's going. But also, it's like you won't see me walking around with a Gucci purse or, posting on Facebook my family vacationed in Disneyland
True.
so a lot of times people say, I can't afford it, but I look at the things that they do and I'm like, you can afford it, you just don't value it. Those are
True.
two completely different. So if
Yeah.
you're a maker or a consumer, can you not afford it really and truly? Like right now, I know I can't afford a Lamborghini. I can't. So, that was real, right? But can I not afford a car? That's not true, right? I can afford a car, and which is why I have a car, because I value a car. I value, the time it saves me. And it's not a fancy car, but it's a car that gets safe and is in decent condition, right? And so you have to also understand that when you're selling these products, you're not trying to convince everyone to buy it. You're kind of
True.
speaking to people who already value these things. And so for me, one of the reasons I also like natural products, because we talked about why natural products, which is the name of the live, is that natural products have good neighbor. Kids are playing, you always want them to be playing with other kids who are also nice, who also have nice manners, who also take school seriously. Maybe they come from a family that has similar values. Because if they play with other kinds of kids, they're going to bring those habits home,
True.
right?
True.
And so when you pick up natural products and you use them consistently, it's just a matter of time before you start looking at the things that you eat. It's just a matter of time before you start looking at your bad habits. Like, well, maybe I shouldn't drink as much. Maybe I should stop smoking cigarettes. Maybe I should walk around the block a little more. Maybe I should start looking at my medications and seeing what I can gradually replace with something natural. So when you pick something, it doesn't matter. You can start with eating well. If you eat well all the time, over a few years, eventually you're going to come to natural products. Because you're going to be like, okay, what's the point of making this and then putting, this other stuff on top of me, right? So natural products kind of go in sync with the whole way of thinking, and not everyone is ready to embrace that way of thinking, and that's okay, because we have our own unalienable right to think for ourselves. And so not everyone is going to value the same things that you value, but the people who do will understand that, and they won't even ask you why it's more expensive. And if they really can't afford it, they can always make their own products, right? Everyone can afford to do that. Everyone can afford to get coconut oil and some mint essential oil, mix it together and rub it on their body head to toe,
True.
So there's always a way to afford to look after your body naturally. But because I want you to make the shampoo for me, because I don't have the time, I'm willing to pay the $25.
True. So here is my experience. She has a comment, and I'm just gonna read it. She said, "I would ask my customers who complained about my prices if they had cable TV, and when they answered yes, I would then reply with, well, we pay for the things that mean the most to us." And so that would get them thinking. So it all boils down to value. And I think it also boils down to the things that will place our priorities on. You know,
Right.
some people can afford to go into the store and buy a bag or shoe that costs $1,000 or more. But then when it comes to skincare or hair care, they feel like they don't have to spend a lot of money on that. So it all boils down to people's priorities, what they place, their priorities on. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for today. I hope that everybody that is here with us have learned one thing or the other. And just before you leave, Eden, is there something, what do you want to leave us with? What can you leave us with on our topic for today? Why natural hair products?
I think that when you choose natural hair products, we just finished an election here in the United States, right? The last few months. You're voting for the kind of world that you want to see in a way that is more in your control and more in your power. Because we can always control what is happening. But the thing is that if we all vote with our dollars, the kind of world we wish to see and the kind of people we wish to empower, eventually the people who are in power will respond to that.
Sure.
They will respond to the values that we set out. We now see organic products in Safeway. Safeway has its own organic. 10 years ago, you wouldn't even have seen this, right? Now they understand that the organic customers now they have their little organic section used to be literally like one shelf. Now it's a whole side of the grocery, of the produce, right? So just understanding that when we vote with our dollars, we actually have the power to change the world. And that money that we spend matters, it matters. So find people who you love, whether it be All Things Natural, which is a one-stop shop for many, many different things for your hair beauty needs, or whatever, and just kind of try to buy consistently the products that work for you from the same people, and it just really helps to create that world. You also find that in the long run you will save money because the stuff is such high quality that you don't spend, like some people say I won't spend more than $7, but if you look in their medicine, there's 15 $7 shampoos in there. It's like you could have just bought one shampoo and been okay, So really it helps you be a minimalist because the things that you're doing are so beautifully made, they're so precious, they're so effective that you don't need much more after that. And it's actually designed to nourish your body rather than take away or just mask problems. So just sort of understand that, and it brings a sort of preciousness to your money exchanges, where it's not just transactional, but it's deep and it's meaningful. And so support yourself by supporting the kind of world you want to live in.
Sure. Thank you. Our freedom, I believe you know her. She says, when we vote with our dollars, we can change the world to reflect what we need.
Amen. That is so true. That is so true.
Man.
And hers is a beautiful brand too. That
Yes.
It's also about speaking to marketing that isn't based on making us insecure, but that allows us to embrace our natural beauty, right?
Sure.
So your brand is never about making people feel inadequate. Our freedom helps people live, people who are living with hair loss, who are, bald, kind of embrace their bald head and just nourish it and smooth. Understand that is beautiful too, and that they're also beautiful, right? So understanding that you also buying into a culture that appreciates you, right? As opposed to one that diminishes you and always trying to make you feel less than.
True. I like that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Eden. Thank you so much. That was very eye-opening. Somebody commented here that she has learned a lot, and that there were some certain things that she didn't know, but now that you mentioned it, so I appreciate the fact that, people have been able to take one or two things away from today's video. And 2020 was a challenging year for all of us. And I think that, yeah, it was a challenging year for all of us. And every time I woke up in 2020, I was like, can we just keep this year? But then we thank God that we are all alive in spite of everything. Some of us still have the privilege, to have life. And if we are not grateful for anything, we should be grateful for life. So I think 2020 kind of made people started looking at things differently,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot count the number of concussions that we were taking in this house. A lot of herbs that we were taking, at the point there was no vitamin C. There was no vitamin D. There was nothing. Everything was gone in the store.
Oh, wow.
So we had to turn to what we have. Those herbs all the way from Nigeria that I used to look at and think that they were nasty were things that, I now value. And they're expensive to get, So 2020 was really an eye opener for everybody. I think many more people came to the realization that, now I have to start doing everything naturally. I have to, almost all of my product. I had a friend shopping, and she kept saying, "Oh, by the way, it has GMO. You have to look for." I was irritated because I was like, you know what? I just want to buy what I want to buy and step out of here. But she was, no, now everything I buy is organic. She kept telling me it costs more money, but I would rather buy it and know that that's what I'm consuming something that is good, So it was an eye opener for a lot of us, and I hope that most of us keep it going like that. And like you said, it all boils down to value and priority. What do we value? What are our priorities?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for today's video. I really appreciate you coming on live, even though we had that technical itch on Facebook, but I am glad that we're able to make this happen on Instagram. Thank you. And thank you. I want to say thank you also to everybody that joined. Thank you so much. In another 2 weeks, there's going to be an interesting topic. I'll keep all of us informed. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eden. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Right. Thank you. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so I have to figure out how to end this thing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Sheyi. Thank you, Big Man's Freedom. Thank you, Focus Man. I see you. Thank you, Omolara. Thank you for Naturals with Love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Black Paul. Thank you, Big Man's. Thank you, Shaneka. I see you here. Thank you. My friend Olori Muyiwa, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I hope to see you sometimes in 2 weeks. God bless us all.